I have Jen Hindinger-Kendrick, who is the co-founder and spokesperson for the Giving Kitchen in Atlanta, Georgia. Jen, I'm excited. You're excited to talk this morning. Thanks for being on the show.
Oh, honored. Thank you so much. Thanks for allowing us to share the work and the mission of Giving Kitchen.
It's an important mission. And just to give people kind of a little background, me personally, the connection, Ryan Smith, who was your business partner at the Staple House, unbelievable restaurant in Atlanta, Georgia, where you all were working through the Giving Kitchen. I'll let you talk about that. But now you have gone 100% with the Giving Kitchen, which is exciting for me. It means that the work that you've done, kind of grassroots, is really flourishing. So I'm excited about that because I definitely have seen the work that you've done over the years and been connected more on the restaurant side, but excited about what's happening and how much you're supporting what we call unsung hospitality heroes. So give everyone the background of the Giving Kitchen, and then we'll talk a little bit about how you've been called to action today.
Yeah, I'd love to. So Giving Kitchen really was initiated in this kind of light bulb moment back when my late husband, who was a chef here in Atlanta, was diagnosed with a terminal cancer diagnosis in December of 2012. And our community really rallied behind him and us as a couple, our family and friends, to really benefit and aid in our support. And back in very early 2013, so just a few weeks after his diagnosis, there was actually a fundraiser put on that we call Team Heidi, Heidi being short for her last name of Heidinger. And close to 1,000 people showed up, a ton of restaurants and bartenders showed up, close to 40, 50 of them participating. There was a live auction. And long story short, almost $300,000 was raised for us in this one night. And that is really kind of what ignited this idea that, community support can change a life. And that there was nothing really that existed out there where someone in the food service industry could be supported by their community and outwardly in their time of crisis. And that's whether it was a medical diagnosis, like a cancer diagnosis, or a broken leg, or another type of sickness, or the death of a family member, or any crisis like that, like a housing disaster. And that's really when the idea of Giving Kitchen came to be. So Giving Kitchen is the nonprofit. It is based out of Metro Atlanta, but we cover the entire state of Georgia to those nearly 500,000 food service workers who span our state and who are involved in a crisis, whether, again, that is the death of a family member, a natural disaster like a house flood or fire, an injury, or a sickness. We're there to help in financial support and a network of community resources.
You are a strong spokesperson.
I live it. It's my passion. And I will say, you mentioned Staple House and Ryan Smith, my brother-in-law. His wife is my sister-in-law, so my late husband's younger sister. So, all of us, helped co-found this idea together. And the restaurant opened in September of 2015. I was there for many years, and just until the end of 2019, where I decided that it was, time to kind of fulfill that full, spokesperson role on a full-time basis, which is why I am over at Giving Kitchen now. But Staple House is still obviously a really important part of my life and another passion.
Yeah. And an unbelievably amazing restaurant. The meal that we had there blew my mind, and it was a ton of fun. And Ryan and you and the service side that you guys have, it's just the continuity was very clear. And I think the fact that you had this mission maybe outside the restaurant almost feels like, from the outside looking in, that it galvanized you all in a way that sometimes restaurants rarely see. So that was really cool for me to see. Your timing was clear. I mean, you were pulled to this, and now, with everything going on with this, our industry professionals are more in need than ever. So just talk about kind of the moment you realized that you were going to have to take even bigger role than you had currently, which is a big role in the past as well, to kind of combat this and be a resource and kind of be a guiding light for the industry, because it's struggling and hurting right now.
Yeah, and they really are. We all are. Every single industry is right now. And, when COVID-19 pandemic hit, we were already an organization who was out there in service and taking care of our food service workers. And, from the beginning of Giving Kitchen's inception to today, we really had to take a strategic mindset on how we would grow. When Giving Kitchen was first born, we were really just covering and helping those in crisis who just worked in full service restaurants. And if you flash forward, those 5 and 6 years, we were able to kind of clarify our mission and our story a bit more and make it more inclusive, which meant a stronger story and mission. So we've been able to take care of those food service workers who have been impacted in those crisis moments for some time. And we really realized that very early on, those financial assistance food service workers that we were able to help through financial assistance really needed more than just money. Give a Kitchen is there from a financial standpoint to be able to help cover rent or mortgage or other basic living expenses. But we also realized that really early on that there were these individuals, your favorite server, your bartender, your chef, who needed more. They needed an access to community resources like mental health counseling or food stability or housing stability, a physician, all of those types of things. We started taking note of that and started collecting hundreds and hundreds of community resources. And as we started to expand to cover the entire state of Georgia, I think we really had a strong foundation built by that point, by the time COVID-19 hit. What we've been able to do since COVID-19 hit has been really remarkable, though, because the number and the percentage increase that we see from day to day has literally changed the scope of what we're able to do and how we're able to help. We've put together a COVID-19 resource page through our website at givingkitchen.org. That's had over 53,000 page views since COVID-19 hit Georgia specific. We've been able to add a ton of local, regional, and national resources to all food service workers. A big one of my favorites, just because it's a really challenging moment for that a lot of our industry members face, is suicide prevention training. So we've been able to offer that on a national level. We introduced that actually a couple of years ago. So again, we're seeing 20 times the amount of inquiries come to Giving Kitchen since COVID-19 hit Georgia, and 4 times the amount of eligible clients or food service workers who come to Giving Kitchen that we actually are able to help. So it's a pretty impactful moment for us right now.
Yeah, and tell it's polarizing in the way that you want to be of service, and the fact that people are looking at you is amazing. The fact that it's so needed right now is also such a struggle and a challenge to try and navigate that. So what I'm interested in maybe is a couple of the numbers as far as how much money is coming into the system, or how many people you're supporting, how many families have gotten support. Just give an idea of the scope and size of the work that you're doing.
Well, I'll kind of work backwards. I'll say just last week, we've been able to award over $50,000 in financial assistance to those food service workers spanning the state of Georgia who are affected by an illness. This includes COVID-19 mandatory quarantine by a doctor, or if there is a diagnosis, any other injury, sickness, death of a family member, et cetera. And we're seeing quite a lot. I mean, as you can imagine, I'm a part of that impetus, that very beginning moment where there was somebody who was affected by a cancer diagnosis and it was terminal, and we still see that today. We see parents losing grandparents, parents, children. We see service workers who are in a car accident and they break their bone, they break an arm, they're out of work for some time, really needing to be at home and heal. And you can imagine the impact that COVID has put on the strain of the restaurant and the food service industry, allowing us to do as much as we can. The week before that, roughly the same number of financial assistance. The week before that, roughly the same. And so therefore, since the beginning of COVID-19, we've been able to award just shy of $150,000 to about 100 food service workers specific. But since our inception, it's been really remarkable. Since our inception alone, $3.4 million has gone out to food service workers spanning the state of Georgia, to over 4,000 individuals in our community. And that is, again, through our Stability Network program, so those community resources that I mentioned earlier, and through our financial assistance.
Jen, I mean, I don't need to tell you. I know you're living it all day. That is unbelievable. Like, I got chills when you're talking about those numbers, and not because numbers need to be impressive, because I just can imagine the people at the end of that who, in our industry, and I'm interested in your perspective on that, in our industry, we are so good at taking care of others and very, very much struggle with taking care of ourselves and each other quite often. And so it can be hard to ask for that help because we're just so used to asking others what they need and being in that moment. So maybe reflect on that a little bit, because I'm interested in the dynamic of how you've been able to break through some of that stigma to show that that support is not even charity. It's like repaying the hospitality that they have paid into our community. Maybe reflect on that for a moment.
Yeah, absolutely. It is kind of that pay it forward mentality, isn't it? It's and I feel really lucky, and I'm so proud, really immensely proud of the team at Giving Kitchen. We're currently a 15-person team that includes a few part-timers who have been helping us just through the last few weeks, and will help us over the next couple of months get through this particular crisis, because Giving Kitchen was also in crisis, at the very beginning when we tried to we were just really trying to make clear our commitment to our community. But we feel really fortunate all together as a team, because we also have to take care of ourselves. A lot of our teammates are also in the food service industry, or have a significant other who works in the food service industry. And we even provide for our teammates that same suicide prevention training, the QPR training. There's really a plethora of like trauma workshops and other type of compassion fatigue type workshops that we're looking for our teammates to take advantage of. We currently, our executive director actually has put in place a counseling service weekly, specifically since COVID-19 hit, that our teammates can take advantage of. And I think it really does start with, it starts with you, it starts with me. It's making sure that leadership is really healthy, taking advantage of those resources. So then in turn, we can provide those for our community. We had a really special moment just last year with the James Beard Humanitarian of the Year Award that the Giving Kitchen was honored. And we took that opportunity to give our gratitude to the community who has helped support Giving Kitchen. But we also took that opportunity to let people know, again, going back to QPR training, which is question, persuade, and refer through the QPR Institute with suicide prevention training, that Giving Kitchen would take care of that financial burden for a 45-minute online training course for any food service worker in the entire country. And we were able to do that and offer that just last year. So again, even though that Giving Kitchen is a state service organization, we also have a bit of a national outreach with things like that that can help, strengthen our food service community in time of crisis.
Yeah, the nod from James Beard and the ongoing work that you're doing with them was really great. Next week, we're going to have V from James Beard. They have been really on top of it. They've been hosting so many webinars, and I see so many people just getting that resource. And so it made a lot of sense to me when I heard about that connection. They're also supporting the Lee initiative, which we talked about a little bit as well. So just a lot of good people coming together in this time of crisis. And so as you're bringing this money into this ecosystem, bringing these to the family, maybe just touch on the practical process of it, so that anybody out there who's like, is that me? Can I be supported in that way? I'm not sure. Do I deserve that? Am I eligible? All these different things that are a big struggle when people are thinking about that through the lens of PPP and unemployment and what and how do I do? Here's another thing that I got to figure out how to do. Maybe walk us a little bit to give people some understanding of the process.
Yeah, I think that's great. And over the course of our 7 years, we've been really able to kind of hone in on that clarity and mission of how we provide the best service possible to as many people as possible. And with that, we have a website called givingkitchen.org. You can go to the Ask for Help page. And go through an application process there. We also, about a year and a half ago, implemented our Giving Kitchen app. So anyone can download this. So it's in the palm of their hand. Some restaurants have even taken advantage of having that at their POS system or at the host stand, which is really powerful, able to tell like an immediate, story about Giving Kitchen if someone needs it. The reality is that it's for any food service worker spanning the state of Georgia currently. Our hope is to expand regionally and nationally. Right now, we are really focused on making sure that the state of Georgia is covered. And these are anybody in the food service industry, whether that is a full service restaurant, it is a catering company, anybody who works in concessions or even has a food truck. They can come to us, go directly to givingkitchen.org, fill out an application. What's really important to notice too is that, especially right now when everyone is looking and turning to community, whether that's your sister, your brother, your parent, your neighbor, your coworkers, all virtually for the most part. We're all really hungry for community. And I think a really important reminder is, someone facing crisis right now, that's the only thing they can think of. That lens for crisis is blurry. It's extremely challenging. And so you, as a friend, can turn them on to Giving Kitchen for them. You can go to that app, you can go online, and you can fill out a form that says that you are someone that they know, and fill out that process for them to get them that help that they may desperately need.
And do you see a lot of that? I like that you went into that, where it's almost like using our hospitality once again as a strength to say, you may not think that you need it, but I know that you knew 2, 3, 4, 10, 20 people in this moment or at any moment that really need it. Yeah. So what is that moment of hospitality? Once again, taking care of each other, being aware of the needs of others, is that hospitality. Now they're not a butt and seat. Now they're not a guest. They are side by side with you in the trenches. I really appreciate that.
Yeah, absolutely. We are all affected by pride, aren't we? That was something that even my late husband and I had a difficult time accepting. As I'll never forget the first time that his then bosses, some of our business mentors and dearest friends, came to us and said, "Let us help you." And we really, at that moment, and again, this was December of 2012, had to just wipe clean that sense of pride that we had, to be able to focus on what was immediate. And for us, our immediate crisis was seeking out the best medical attention and forming our path with our family. And we see that every single day. And so, I think it's a part of our obligation. It always has been, and especially right now, to help take care of one of our own. And again, that is either turning a food service worker onto Giving Kitchen if they are in crisis. But that's also, understanding that Giving Kitchen is of vital importance right now with fundraising. There's so many events that have been canceled, not just for Giving Kitchen and not just for our industry, but cross-platform globally. And that people are really having to kind of restructure their strategy on what to do. And for something like Giving Kitchen, an organization like Giving Kitchen, where it's so important that, that server, that bartender, that chef that might need help today, whether they're under a COVID-19 mandatory quarantine or another illness, an injury, a housing disaster, what happens to that same person and their child gets sick next year? Or they get into a car accident and they break their leg and they're out of work for another 6 to 8 weeks. Giving Kitchen is so important today. It was important yesterday, but it's even more important for our future.
Yeah, here's a couple things. You keep giving me the chills. You're crushing it. This is really good stuff.
This is fun, and I'm super passionate about it.
I can tell. I am super passionate about it now, and I've only watched from a distance. So as soon as you need a hub in Denver, you let me know. I know all the people.
We know who to reach out to.
Exactly. And anywhere in the country, I'll get 10 people from St. Louis on the show to talk about it, bring some momentum to it. I'm in. You got me. I'm in. Whatever you need. Absolutely. You talked about the donor side of it. You touched on that for a second. Let's give everybody out there who's got a couple extra bucks, just doesn't know where to put it, that's going to support the humans in hospitality that have been so gracious to them for so many years. It's an opportunity to pay that hospitality forward once again. Talk about how they can support and what the ask is for donors.
Yeah, we're an organization that used to be, this is so interesting, even just up until about 4 weeks ago, used to be funded primarily by our restaurants and our food service employees, by all of the events that we would, focus on throughout the year. And we have so quickly overnight turned into an organization that is funded by individual donations, corporate donations, family foundations with emergency funding. I really, truly cannot tell you how significant that is, and how, just totally eye-opening of how that has come into us since COVID-19 hit. Our development and partnerships team is crushing it right now with accepting all of this. But it's really amazing. We have seen, just since the beginning of COVID-19 hitting Georgia, a couple of thousand new donors donating $50, $100, $150. And I will be sure to tell you that $150 can help keep lights on for a food service worker in their time of need when they're, experiencing a potential eviction, or they're, that lighting company is about to turn off their lights. Just $150 can save them from having, the lights turned off, quite literally. So our token of gratitude to all of these individuals is really sharing that story of the vital importance of Giving Kitchen yesterday, today, and in the future. And it's really just been an amazing outpouring of support of people just coming together and wanting to make sure that this industry is one that we can return to, because I think that's one of the biggest fears that we all have is, so many in this food service industry, they're afraid for what the future holds. We might be kind of holding steady right now and working through what we've deemed as clarity and purpose. But the reality is that, we're all still fearful of what that future looks like. So it's really Giving Kitchen's mission to just make sure that we provide a little support.
Of everything you said, and you've had some doozy. There's been several mic drops for sure. Thousands of people, over 1,000 people reaching out and donating small amounts, I think is the biggest and best thing. Because, look, clearly anybody would want to give you money. You can put on amazing events. You have access to the best food and beverage anywhere in the country. I'll throw this out there. You and I have talked about this. The two most unsung food cities in the entire country, LA and Atlanta.
I love hearing that.
As soon as we get done, I'm just going to gush about eating Atlantis, so you know, live on this show, including Staple House once again. Anyway, I digress. Having that many people come to you is really important, I think, for you, and I know you recognize it, and for others to recognize as well, because you can put on amazing events and get big money donors to drop money and raise a ton of money in one shot. You guys have the credibility, you have the ability to do it, so that's not surprising to me. This is a more important moment to me because all those unsung hospitality heroes that we're so passionate about are finding $100 to support somebody else and, keeping the lights on. That is important. That momentum has to be very exciting for you because that can scale massively across the country of people just giving $50. Their tips from one night to support other families is massive. So talk about that a little bit more, because that right there is the biggest takeaway for me in this moment.
Oh, I love it. And I mean, it is. It's super powerful. An average financial assistance package for a food service worker who's experiencing crisis currently is around $1,500. On average for Giving Kitchen, it's actually about $1,800. And that is being able to keep the lights on, the water running, and a roof over someone's head, because Giving Kitchen can pay for that financial assistance for housing, mortgage or rent payments, basic living expenses, and utilities. And that $1,800 can cover a food service worker for upwards of 3 months. I mean, imagine that. On average, you're getting maybe not with regretfully a major kind of cancer diagnosis, you never know, but with an injury or something to that effect, you are probably going to be home for 6, 8, 12 weeks. Or you are, a server who hears of, an immediate family member passing away, and you don't even have the funds to continue a rent payment because you chose to go across the country to go to your grandparents' funeral, your parents' funeral, something like that. And so Giving Kitchen is really meant to be there to make sure that we are paying for your rent or your mortgage, those basic living expenses, when you feel it incredibly important to be with your family. And obviously for our team, that is really what drives us. It's hearing the stories of these testimonials. It's making sure that we are able to have, to see a smile on someone's face, that they were able to have fulfillment in that way, that they're able to stay home and take care of themselves and heal. We can't do everything for everyone, but I sure know that we are a mission-driven organization that is striving to make sure that every food service worker in our state currently is met with compassion, with care, and we're able to offer some stability.
Momentum, it's the word. I had just a sous chef local in Denver on the show, because we like to hear perspectives from every level. And he used the word momentum so many times that literally I stole it. It's my word now too, momentum. when you talk about $1,500, $1,800 as the average assistance, that goes a long way in the day-to-day. When they have a massive event, potentially that is not even a drop in the bucket. However, the momentum that it creates, that they start to feel the opportunity and the openness to be willing to accept that help. If you become open, more help will come to you. And then others seeing that amount of giving is motivating as hell to get them the momentum to that. So that piece to me is very important. The momentum that creates, even if you would love nothing more than to pay all of their medical bills and take all of that burden away. I know, I can see it in your face when you're talking about it. The momentum that you're creating and planting that seed is so important, Jen. And like I'm telling you, like you don't know. I know you know, but I just want people to know I recognize how important that is. And so give us some last thoughts. Give us, anything that we haven't touched on, anything else that you want people to really know. And then I really want to hear some playlist items from you, because whatever it takes for you to get out of bed with that level of energy to go out and make shit happen, Jen, I need that in my life.
I am not sleeping very much right now. So I do want to make I love the word momentum as well. And I think it's really powerful because, there's a lot of times that we will see a food service worker or client come to Giving Kitchen in need of crisis help. And then a couple of months later, offer their time to volunteer. And I think that is the biggest kind of connecting that circle that we as humans kind of gravitate towards, and it's keeping your mind open and lowering that sense of pride and being willing to accept the help. And then all of a sudden it comes back to you tenfold. And I think that's really powerful. And I just want to also make a point about Staple House specifically. Staple House Restaurant is a for-profit subsidiary of the Giving Kitchen. And what they're doing right now as a soup kitchen is unbelievable. Staple House is a tasting menu. We opened up as a tasting menu. It is still currently a tasting menu restaurant, casual fine dining, if you'd like to put it in that category. And the team over there, Ryan Smith, Kara Heidinger, and the entire team have turned it into a soup kitchen. Free meals, 50 to 100 a day, 7 days a week for anybody in the hospitality industry who have come on hard times due to COVID-19. It's really amazing.
It's unbelievable. I'm furiously texting this right now. So I want everyone to know that multiple links to the Giving Kitchen, the COVID-19 are in the comments. So make sure you pop into the comments as you're watching this. When you watch it later, that's going to be very important to connect to that information. Anybody who's in need or knows 10 people, 20 people, we all know them that are in need. This is not a time for pride. This is a time for community. And the Giving Kitchen has put out a really strong foundation and are actually executing on it day in, day out. $150,000 to 100 professionals just through COVID-19 is a massive accomplishment. And anybody who has $150 or $1,500 or anything in between, please go and check out what you guys are doing. And then also for me and anybody else out there watching, because we have little pockets of people listening all over the country, get at Jen in the Giving Kitchen, because this is a model that I think we need everywhere. And I know that you're motivated to get this model stamped out all over because you've seen the massive benefit in Atlanta and in Georgia. So yes, all of those things, let's do that for the Giving.
Keep it going.
I'm really, keep the momentum going, people. Let's keep it going. All right, some playlist items. Not sleeping much. I hear you. I was up till 3 a.m. last night. It's weird. Our clocks are just off, and I forget what day it is. The only day that matters right now is trash day. Do not forget trash.
Yes. So let's see here. I love, my husband and I, we listen to music a lot. I'm trying to think of one of the last songs I heard maybe yesterday was like a Marty Robbins song. But I will say I'm a new mom of a 10-week-old. So bringing that balance together, I was on maternity leave. I ended up coming back full time. Obviously, we're all teleworking, so I'm working as much as I can in between a baby. But my newborn son, Blue, is absolutely a very centering moment in my life. I've always assumed it would be that way, but for me, as soon as I became a mother, I was able to really understand it in the flesh. That as soon as you approach that human child, you really have to center yourself. And so I have found it pretty amazing to be able to, have some baby love time in between a bit of the stress. So that's also why I'm not sleeping. Work, yes, is also great, but there's a baby.
Yes. I'm trying to think what Betsy, when through the boys, there was always something that she had on. Gilmore Girls was one of the ones that I remember.
Oh,
She
yeah.
was when, up in the middle of the night, nursing the boys, all of that. So
Yep.
that's an amazing time.
We're watching Parks and Rec right now. The whole thing.
Perfect.
Done. It's amazing.
Parks and Rec is a perfect type of just turn your brain off and just have a moment of levity at 2:30 in the morning when baby's upset. Now, the challenge with Parks and Rec is not to laugh out loud and wake up the baby.
Very true. We try to watch the episodes before midnight.
Smart. Jen, thank you so much for the conversation. Thank you for the leadership and the support that you continue to show. It is so important. Everybody, let's keep the momentum going. And once again, I'm not just saying this. Whatever you need that I can do personally, Best Served Podcast, share information out there. As you can tell, I'll just talk about anything, especially those things that support our hospitality professionals. So, Jen, thank you so much for being on the show. The work that you're doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you. Have a great day.
You too.
This is one of the reasons, not only that I just love this industry, I love doing this show. I'm so grateful for the opportunity to talk to people like Jen, just an absolute lightning rod, like leading the way in the most important way possible to support people that really, really need it, because it's a grind just being in the industry. So the work that they've done pre-COVID is very, very important because it has supported so many people, so many families through their own crises, and giving us that sense of community is really important. So for them creating a really sustainable channel for that and a consistent channel for that is massive, which is why I see that they went from Atlanta to the state of Georgia to now partnering with the James Beard Foundation to Humanitarian of the Year last year award, to then having the potential to do this on a national scale, stamp out the model, create little hubs across the country. So very excited about that. And I'm just going to do it again and give massive shout outs to Atlanta, Georgia. Unbelievable food city. So underrated. Not for long. This is like one of the great food cities. Amazing chefs down there. Chad Clevenger at Alma Casina is doing phenomenal stuff. Nick Rutherford at the Porter Beer Bar completely flipped me on my head when I walked into this grungy, awesome little beer dive bar and had amazing, unbelievable food. It just blew my mind. Terry Koval, when he was at Wrecking Bar, and now Deer and Dove, just a lot of talent down there. Ryan Smith, they're winning Restaurant of the Year a few years back for Staple House, and for them to pivot from a tasting menu, really, really high touch hospitality, really unbelievably elegant food, and that award-winning level tasting menu type food, to go to a soup kitchen. It's just like getting the food to the people is becoming so important, getting the support to the people. So excited about that. Check back in. Got a second show today, about 25 minutes. We're going to have another powerhouse woman in our industry, Katie Laser, who's the executive director of Eat Denver, the network of independently owned restaurants in Denver, Colorado, is going to be on, giving us a little state of the union, what's happening here in Denver and kind of what that means to the scope of what's happening in the perspective across the country. So that's going to be a great conversation for you to check into. Tomorrow, 2 episodes as well. A couple of the pure unsung hospitality heroes. I love this. Maxwell Boyle, who is with Stowaway Kitchen in Denver, Colorado. And just somebody who I saw just being active and communicating and engaging on social media, saying funny, crazy stuff like we all do in the industry. So I'd love to get his perspective on some things. And then Edelyn Garcia, who was on Katie Osuna, who was on this live show last week. She was on her full episode of the podcast. Definitely go check out that at bestservedpodcast.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Katie Osuna, the host of Copper and Heat podcast, and Edelyn Garcia was her nominee for one of her unsung hospitality heroes. Great conversation, just a theme, powerful women. This is what we need more and more and more of in this industry. So Edelyn Garcia is going to be on. She is currently the exec sous at the Village Pub in Woodside, California. Will be on tomorrow, 10 a.m. Mountain, 11 a.m. Mountain. So check in for those. Thank you so much. As always, I am energized, momentum going. Check back in here in a little bit. Thanks as always. Cheers.